Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for joining Built in Texas. I hope you had a fantastic weekend. It always goes by so so fast. My name is Jasmine Brand, and I'm the host of Built in Texas. I'm thrilled that you'll be joining us today. We've got a really great conversation on South by Southwest, but more importantly, the woman behind a lot of the brand initiatives and efforts. So thrilled that you'll be joining us this morning. If you're tuned in on Facebook or LinkedIn, thrilled to have you here. Feel free, if you're in the comments, to kind of let us know where you're tuning in from. We have people tune in from all around the state, but we also have had some really cool people tune in at different parts of the country too, which has been really cool too. So Built in Texas is powered by Her Texas, which I'll tell you a little bit about in just a second. But we're here every Monday at 11 a.m. Central Standard Time. And we are a 30-minute weekly show that highlights the achievements, the ideas, and the initiatives that women in Texas are doing here locally and beyond. So 30 minutes. I know you guys have lots of stuff to do and it's a crazy Monday. So we try to get in and out with what's happening here around the state and also introduce you to some fabulous women too. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about Her Texas, because Her Texas is the reason why Built in Texas was actually created as well. But first, I want to tell you about this photo, which I love this photo. This photo was from an event I hosted a couple of years ago. And it was a female founders breakfast that was part of Startup Week, actually. And it was on a Friday at 7:30. And I think I had pitched an idea to say, let's have a bunch of female founders get together on a Friday, super early. And then people were like, they're not going to show up, Jasmine, because they're female founders and it's early. And I'm like, okay. And we ended up hosting, I think we had over 100 ladies show up. The event started at 7:30 in the morning. These ladies were there at like 7 o'clock, like ready to go. It was so fun, so incredible. And this picture I love because I think it represents the diverse nature and coolness of female founders here in Texas too. One of those specifically I know is Gigi McDowell, who has an incredible company too that I believe she's doing really awesome stuff. I haven't talked to her in forever. So excited about the future of female founders for sure. And the goal of Her Texas, let me tell you a little bit about that, is we were really founded to provide Texas women with content, community, and connectivity. This is not to say that these things don't exist in the state, but we are a big ASS state. And we've got close to 15 million women here, and we've got close to 3,000 cities. And it's challenging to connect just in the city. I'm here in Dallas. I'm an entrepreneur for the last 12 years. But it's hard to connect just in the city you're in. So imagine if you're trying to connect with around the state. And so we want to provide some connectivity there that's much needed. We're an organization that recognizes that the state's greatest strength lies in the women that work, live, and do business here in the state too. And we are an ecosystem builder. And what that means is we're here to connect everything that's happening in the state. We're not here to replace or criticize anything that's happening. We're here to actually amplify and serve as an engine for the cool stuff that's happening in the state, but also for the stuff that's not going great. Like we want to make sure that it's very clear and that women, Texas women, have a voice and they have some connectivity. We are hoping to set the stage for each woman here to continuously evolve through the existence and support of other women. And why I say that, my career as a businesswoman for the last 12 years, even my own personal life, has only been that much greater because of the incredible women that have been a part of my life and my business. And so we've got some incredible women here in the state. And I'm hoping that together we can create some incredible stuff. And really, honestly, truly, all things are possible. And so Her Texas hopes to be that glue. I've said it a couple of times too. We really want to be kind of like a matchmaker. That sounds crazy, but in a way we really are. From a career perspective, from if you're just trying to get around the state, we hope to make it easier for you too. So Her Texas is built on these 4 kind of really cool principles, which is navigate the state, connect and thrive, find work you love, and build something epic. And so these are kind of the 4 ideals that kind of fuel what the work that we want to do. And I've been building Her Texas for the last 2 years. It was supposed to launch last year, but Corona, COVID-19. But I'm thankful for that because these 4 ideals have kind of evolved in the time that I had to kind of chill and kind of think more about where I wanted Her Texas to go. And so we didn't want to just be an organization, but we really wanted to truly be ecosystem builder, which I think is so needed. We know that a lot of us have been working for a long time to get a seat at the table, so to speak, but we're really excited about creating our own table. And we welcome men and women, anybody who's for the advancement of women, to our table. And we want everyone to truly have a voice at that table too. I'm excited because we are finally, and I say finally just because it feels like I've been working on this forever, going to be launching on May 3rd. So I will invite you to follow us on one of our social channels. Where our countdown for our official launch starts tomorrow, which means we'll flip the switch on all of our social channels and our website, and we'll start to kind of build some excitement for that. Those 4 ideals I talked to you about will really start to kind of introduce you to what those mean. We'll be kicking off with Navigate the State and kind of telling you a bit more about what that actually means. So I'd invite you to your homework. You only have a little bit of homework, is to connect with us. You can go to our website if you'd like to join our newsletter that comes out every Wednesday, or if you want to just stay and plugged into what's happening with what we're doing. We're on every social channel, of course, except TikTok. And I talked to y'all about this last week. I'm still on the fence with TikTok. There is an account there. I just haven't. And I know we need it. I know we need to. So it's on my to-do list for sure. But we've got Instagram, Facebook, of course, LinkedIn. And we do have a private Facebook group too that is open to any woman that is currently in the state of Texas. It's a private Facebook group. So if you're interested, I'd invite you to join in that. But your homework, pick one of those social channels, connect with us, stay plugged in. Our official countdown kicks off tomorrow. So excited about this. I feel like I've been talking to some of y'all about this forever. You're like, Jasmine, whatever, Her Texas isn't coming. I'm like, it is. And now I've put it on here. So this means it has to happen. This is like me telling you guys I've been working out, right? So now it means I have to keep going. But without further ado, as I told you guys, this show is bite-sized, introduction to some incredible women each week. I don't want to keep rambling. I want to introduce you to our really special guest. And we actually have the same initials, which means we must have some other things in common. I'm thinking maybe we'll be besties after this, Jann. She's going to be like, no, not yet, Jasmine. But I'm really thrilled to introduce you to our special guest today, Jann Baskett. Jann, welcome to Built in Texas.
Thanks for having me. Congratulations on your soon-to-be launch, too.
That's thank you. Thanks so much. I think you have coffee, too.
Well, actually, it's tea, but that's okay.
That's okay. Okay, that's okay. But you're on brand.
Yes, I am.
Always. Well, thank you so much. You all, as we shared the information for this show, some of Jann's bio was included. It's incredible. So we won't kind of repeat that. You can definitely go find it out. And you can stalk her like I did too. Lots of juicy information there. We're not super juicy, but lots of really cool stuff about all the stuff she's done before South by Southwest and what she continues to do. But I like to just jump into 2020. It's a question that I always ask everyone. It is that year that I feel like we don't really want to think about, but it was so pivotal for a lot of us in so many ways. Jann, can you talk about what was 2020 like? And I know for you, I can just guess professionally the craziness of it, but I shouldn't even assume too, because you just never know. So can you tell us maybe what was 2020 like for you? Some lessons learned?
You bet. So, well, first of all, 2020, if you remember when everything shut down, that was literally for South by Southwest. There were 18-wheelers in the loading dock of the convention center. So, and we got word from the mayor that the city of Austin was shutting down South by Southwest. And we were sort of, we were watching. We had our safety committee meeting with Austin Public Health every day. But we really had to wait for the city's official word. And we've always kind of followed the lead of Austin Public Health. So that happened literally when we had people loading into the convention center. So it was pretty devastating, as you can imagine, when the whole business is based on this March event and then it's shut down for the first time in 30 plus years. And then we immediately had to lay off about a third of our staff. which was brutal. And then everyone else had pay cuts and furloughs, and so all the things. And it was a rough year professionally for that reason. And then we, of course, couldn't do a live event in 2021 either. So it was almost unfathomable, that time period. And so we were kind of scrambling and trying to watch the news and figure out if we would be able to do 2021 or not. So that was sort of a year of pain. And then personally, I feel like one big lesson learned, I lost my mom, not to COVID, but just lost her in the year. My son got COVID. He's 18 years old. He's a senior in high school, so that was a pretty crappy senior year, has been a pretty crappy senior. So there were a lot of things whirling around personally and professionally, as with all of us, that made it tough. But I really learned a lot about the importance of reflection. And I think the whole world collectively had to slow down and stop and think about what's important, right? So, big believer in stopping to meditate. But for me, my priorities became super clear. Gratitude became super clear for me. The idea of capturing your reflections became important to me. I get up every day now and I write. And it's not really even journaling. It's just, I really like the process of kind of dragging the pen across the pages and getting it out. And it really helps me start the day with more focus. Oddly, it doesn't even have to make sense. It doesn't have to be that coherent, but it's just the process. I learned that. So it gives me time to stop and reflect and kind of get the worries out. So I think that personally, that's something that I've learned, is that the importance of stopping to reflect is huge. Professionally, again, I think we all put things on hold really quickly and just thought, well, we gotta wait a minute and then we'll get through this. And then the minute got to be days and months. And so I really realized that just because we're working differently, you don't have to dial back the scale of your ideas or ambitions. It's just, you're just going to execute them differently now. And so taking that back to South by Southwest, we just did a really large online event and made that pivot. And the thing that I was proud of is that we were super ambitious about it the whole time. It wasn't like, well, we're just going to do this tiny little thing and say we did it. It was, no, we need
some pushback though, because I noticed too with digital and virtual and anything, like everyone says they're for it, and then when the reality sets in, it's like, no, we're literally going to be all. How was the response to that, or was it just like, you know what, we got to make it happen?
Yeah, it was. At first, we were our own worst skeptics, but the reviews, in the end, the reviews were fantastic. People had a great time. It was just a tough pivot because our brand is really about connecting people and connecting people in person. But we said, how do we do that in a way that we still provide all that great programming and we're able to have this richness of all the different industries and different countries. And we can't dial it back to where we're not doing all the different things that we did. We just have to do them in that digital way. So sure, there was pushback. Everyone was skeptical, including our own staff. We were all kind of like, how's this going to work? We've never done it before, but it was so great. It was really great. And I think people got to experience a lot of content that maybe they couldn't in person. So definitely pros and cons.
That's actually one of the things I loved about it, was because typically I get distracted very easily. And so I was focused this year, Jann. Like I really was able to attend so many more things. Now, I'm also an introvert too. So part of me was like, yes, this is awesome. But I know a lot of my extroverted friends were like, how's this going to happen? And I heard nothing but really great things too, just the seamless flow of everything too. What was some of the other things you discovered going digital, going virtual, and will you take any of those discoveries into this next year?
Yeah, you bet. And again, as I said, we tried something really ambitious. So normally we have a conference which is filled with somewhere around 2,500 sessions every year, and in different verticals like tech and health and AI and XR, and so we have tracks or different verticals, and then we have festivals, including the comedy festival, the music festival, and the film festival. So all those things and all those industries together are sort of the beauty of South by Southwest. So we didn't feel like we could take any one of them away. So we programmed on 5 different channels, continuous content for 5 full days. So while that was scaling back from, roughly 10 days, we were still doing 5 days of 24-hour a day content, 12 hours, and then rerunning it for the international crowd. And so I think what was great about that is it had sort of a television network feeling that you could pop in and pop out and look at different things. And I think that we succeeded in kind of what you said. It's when we're in the physical, people have to wait in lines or go walk from place to place. They have to really plan their schedule. And while we allow access to all the different things, they might not be able to fit in a film, for example. So the way that we created this kind of blend of this, immediate stream as well as on-demand content, people were able to do their day of sessions and music showcases and then maybe watch a film at night or something like that. So we got a lot of feedback that people were able to dip into a lot more content than they ever had before. So I think taking that forward, another thing that was something that we'll want to take forward is creating online content that we'll be able to create maybe a separate credential for every year. We usually have about 1 in 4 international attendees. So people really do come to Austin to send on Austin from all over the world. Yeah. It's kind of been growing, but this year with the online event, it was more like 1 in 3. So we love that. We love growing our international crowd, more students most likely because the credential was less expensive. Yeah. So, and we do have a student rate for our physical event, but still they've got to, a lot of times they have to pay for travel and a place to stay, and it gets expensive. So we know that all those things add up. So I really love the idea that we'll have some kind of a credential for those who just can't afford to be here. It probably won't be the full array of things. We're kind of trying to figure that out now, but we'll keep some kind of a hybrid event going.
What's interesting too is that sometimes digital is more work.
Yeah.
So people don't get that. They think, you're just plugging on a Zoom, you're just hopping on, but it actually is, because I feel like now people have nothing to do but look at a screen. So it feels like the attention to detail is so much greater. And would you agree with that?
Yeah, 100%. And I think for our staff, remember we had a third fewer people. And then I was really proud of the fact that we pivoted with our staff too. So people who are on the logistics team, who are usually doing the physical event stuff, were able to move over and work with our content and video teams and use those great, same brain skills of being super organized and to help produce the online content. And a lot of it was pre-recorded, but we were sending kits out and having to string all this content together. Again, it was kind of like going from a physical event to a television network. And so being able to keep our same staff and have them repurpose their roles, but it was work. It was hard to plan. It was hard to choose platforms. It was hard to try to replicate those things that make South by Southwest such a cool experience. And we didn't want to do it in a little dinky way that people would say, we wanted the value to be there for those people who were paying for that credential. So, it was all the things. It was volume, having to deal with technical issues, having to deal with new platforms and new roles. So if anyone says that it's easier, it just isn't.
I would agree for sure. What I think is fascinating too, I think South by Southwest isn't just a conference, obviously, right? And so many of us have so many stories of new friends, new event. Just so many cool experiences over the last couple of years. I know I do, especially being from the startup space. But I always think about, and this might be just because I'm a marketer too, but I love the look and feel of South by Southwest. And I know everything is like a science. Every font, everything is meticulously selected, the color choices. And so I would love for you to tell us, or maybe give us a tiny little peek inside that. I know that some of the cool things about your background is that you're multifaceted, as so many of us tuned in are, that you've had the founder experience, you've worked at agency, and now you kind of bring all that together with your current role at South by Southwest. Can you give us maybe a little peek underneath the hood of kind of that aesthetic and where it came from?
You bet. This is the kind of thing.
Your head is wine, Jann. Where's it come from?
I'm a brand person at heart, so this is the kind of thing I could talk about all day. But prior to being at South by Southwest, I had an agency called Foxtrot, and we started in, I think, 2008, creating the annual brand look and feel for South by Southwest. So what South by had done for years was to create a completely new logo, color palette, typography, complete turnover every single year. And so we did that for a while, and it was great. It was fun. A lot of what you're doing, you find yourself trying to just do something that's different than the previous year. It's not unlike the Olympics in that they'll turn over their whole look and feel kind of based on the city. So you'll get the feel for the city in that look and feel, and they do a big brand reveal each time. But we're every single year, and we're always in Austin. And that turnover was not only hard for the internal art department, but it really wasn't necessary. And we weren't building any equity in any one aspect of the brand. And so at some point, I think 2012, maybe, actually a little later than that, I think we did a rebrand to where we created an evergreen look and feel for South by Southwest. And when we launched that, so, back to the cup, when we launched that, we created this evergreen logo and then used the mark of the arrow and evergreen typography. So it was ridiculous to completely throw out everything every year and start over. So there was an evergreen basis, and then we could build equity, like the Nike swoosh, for example, we could build equity in the arrow mark. So that stayed the same for years now. And we still do a big look and feel turnover, which we call our key art. But the typography stays the same. You'll recognize these branded elements of South by Southwest that don't change. And the way that we change that art every year, there's usually a theme that emerges. And we've already got our art for 2022 in the can. So we do it pretty early, but it's not based on a trend of that exact month or moment as much as it is a theme that's emerging. So for 2020, the year we were canceled and the art was all ready to roll, we had the mayor, Steve Adler, mayor of Austin, uses this quote to describe South by Southwest. And he says, South by Southwest is like the World's Fair for the future. So we thought, well, that's true. That's a good description. So that year we sort of leaned into the idea of our international audience, and we picked a color palette that was really drawn from all the common colors of international flags. And then the shapes they were sort of an abstracted version of flags. They weren't literal flags, but it was just shapes put together and then those colors. And so on the banners that hung on 6th Street, for example, it kind of spoke to the international audience. So there's usually some theme that we grasp and then design from there. So for 2022, while I don't have anything to show you for that yet, we're still working on it. The idea is going to be more about people coming back together and sort of all these industries and people woven together. And so we're excited that will, we hope, be an in-person 2022. And the look and feel will kind of speak to coming back together.
Oh, I hope so too. My gut says yes, but I also know too, I'm trying to be very flexible about things because you just never know, but it feels like there's some good energy that's moving forward here in the state. I feel like South by Southwest definitely has a global vibe to it, but it also has Austin, but Austin has a global vibe, I think, and so can you tell us, for those that have not been to Austin, so what's interesting in the research I have for Her Texas is that the majority of people that live here in the state have only been to two cities, two major cities. Yeah. Which is I think is fascinating because it's part of the journey and discovery of Texas. It's not just for people who are transplants, but people that have been here for forever, that the state is still something to explore. South by Southwest has an Austin vibe. What does Austin kind of mean to you? I know you said before we started speaking that you worked in New York and then you came back to Austin. Like, how would you describe someone who hadn't been to Austin was thinking of going?
Yeah, and I definitely, having been here about 25 years now, I have a different lens probably than our attendees. So I'm kind of thinking of this through the lens of our attendees a little bit.
Yes.
I would say, it's a very creative city, no doubt. Always has had a reputation for its live music scene and its film community. While Austin is super expensive now, and it's not easy for working musicians and filmmakers to here, unfortunately, I don't think there's any question that creative spirit still really lives and is a huge part of Austin, and probably has grown in other media as well, like the visual arts. And we just embrace the creative culture in Austin. So Austin is creative, no doubt. I would also say that Austin is very casual. And I mean that in kind of every sense of the word. For sure, our attendees say that's something that they love about it. The idea of going to a taco truck and being outdoors in the sunshine and walking around the lake. That's that outdoorsy kind of natural aspect to Austin remains, even as the tech businesses explode here. And even in the fashion sense, it's pretty casual. It's also Houston in that way, and it's not
true
super urban. It's a casual vibe. And then the other thing I would say about it is it's super ambitious, and it's got this reputation of being the slacker city, and that's really it's sort of not true anymore.
The news doesn't match this either. The news doesn't match this either. When you hear that, like the Keep Austin Weird thing, I'm like, some pretty big businesses coming to Austin.
Yeah, it's pretty big, and it's pretty, and the tech influx has changed the slacker vibe a little bit. I would say it's certainly, and this is the kind of thing that people have really strong opinions about, like Keep Austin Weird versus slacker versus what we are now.
But Kelsey's tuning in really quickly. She said she's South Austin and loves your description. She said it is super expensive for a young family, but loves how casual it is.
Yeah, and I think, I mean, it's really true. And I think our very urban friends and attendees who come to South by Southwest say that that's what they love about it. So it feels that way. We may have a much better restaurant scene than we used to, a much more hipster restaurant scene than we used to, but at the same time, you'll just see people in their Austin gear, right? It's and so probably in every sense of the word, it has a bit of a relaxed feel. At the same time, kind of at odds with what I'm about to say, it's super ambitious. And I think one of the markers of that is South by Southwest. I used to work for Details magazine in New York, and I would come down, and that's kind of one of the things that made me fall in love with Austin. And South by was much smaller then, but still ambitious. And there were people from all over the world, even in the early days. And so as the platform has grown, Austin just does things like that, right? There are these really ambitious things that happen in Austin, despite being casual. So I think that's, it's both ambitious and very willing to try big things, and at the same time, still casual and creative.
I love that description of it too, because I think that's part of the challenge here in Texas, that we all have these kind of perceived notions of each of the cities, but they really have continued to evolve. And I think a lot of that is transplants too. I mean, I think they've brought so much new flavor and interesting perspectives here too. George states that Texas has a global vibe for sure. And since we're just about out of time, I feel like that's a good way for us to end on, speaking of ambition, women that have inspired you. We always end each Built in Texas with us thinking about a woman that has inspired our lives, whether it's someone who is your neighbor, a friend, or it could be a coworker, or it could be someone famous, someone from history. Would love to, as we wrap up today, who is a woman that has inspired you personally or professionally?
Yeah, well, I think there's some very cool Texas women doing really interesting things right now. Your brand, there are many, like the 19th. Many brands that are doing really great things with and for women right now, and I love that. I have to go back to the cliche and say Ann Richards. And there's
Oh,
a
yeah.
real personal reason to me is that when I was living in New York and I was, ready to move someplace else, I kind of wanted, I like to be outdoors. I just wanted a little more of that, and a yard and a dog and all the things that you can get when you actually decide to leave New York. And I loved the city so much. It was kind of a heartbreaking decision, and or heart-wrenching decision rather. And so I thought, well, I don't know, Austin, I love going down there for South by Southwest. Austin seems pretty great. Could I live there? And this was back when Ann Richards was governor. And I thought, I don't know, Texas, can I do it? But at the time, I thought, I really am an introvert. And here was this woman who is just so fearless and funny, and busted through the good old boy network in Texas government. And so I thought, any place with a governor like that, I think I could live there. So I have to say, Ann Richards, I know that may be a bit of a cliche, but she was awesome.
She is someone who is regularly mentioned. And I said this before, that the cover she had, I think it was Rolling Stones, with the motorcycle, the big hair, the bedazzled jacket. I was like,
Texas Monthly.
It was Texas Monthly. That's right. So like that cover just is in my mind forever. So you wouldn't be alone in being her being definitely someone who we're all inspired by, for sure. Well, Jann, our time is out. As I told you, it goes by so fast. So I really appreciate you taking time to stop by Built in Texas. We're thrilled about the success this year for South by Southwest, and can't wait. And we'll definitely send you good energy and prayers and hugs that it goes back in person. But if not, it sounds like you guys kicked ass. I'm gonna say ass because we're getting close to noon. Kicked ass with the virtual. I think it was awesome. So I'm excited to see what happens next year, and hope we can stay connected.
I hope so too. Thank you so much. Really happy for your launch too. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Jann. Thanks so much. And you all, our time is up. I want to tell you about next week, Carrie Ann Nadeau, and I'm probably butchering that, Carrie Ann, so you can kill me next week. They are a New York-based company that is trying to reimagine, shake up the insurance company. They actually are launching their headquarters here, surprisingly, to Jann's point, in Austin. So I'm excited to talk to her next week. They've got, a really killer company that they're building here. So I'm thrilled about them bringing it here to Texas. So I hope to see you all next week. Tune into one of our social channels. As I said, our countdown to our big launch starts tomorrow. So I'm excited about it. So have a great rest of your week, and talk to you soon. Bye.